tonight we're going to be playing a game of Casting the Runes, which was published by the Design Mechanism, written by Paul St. John McIntosh. It was successfully kickstarted back in 2020, and we had a game of it just after it was released. I seem to recall we streamed it. It's based on occult investigation in the kind of the world of M.R. James, who wrote lots of very, very famous ghost stories. You will have heard of some of them, or you will have heard at least some of the ideas that have come from those stories and then kind of propagated through popular myth or whatever. And the adventure we're going to be playing is A Reckoning Come October, which is written by Stephen Dosman. He has an itch.io page where you can download a bunch of the other adventures that he's written for other systems. They're all pay what you want as well, which is rather generous of him. The scenario tonight, I mean, it may potentially touch upon some problematic themes. It's set shortly after the Second Boer War, and there may be some mention of Britain's colonial past and its treatment of indigenous peoples of other countries, but we will brush over that as much as we can. And I think that's about it. So it's set in the year 1902, shortly after the Boer War has ended and the soldiers have begun to return. And our player characters are all members of the Everlasting Club. New members, junior members of this club. The Everlasting Club itself is the subject of a well-known ghost story by Arthur Gray, and its protocols are based on a real organisation called the Ghost Club, which was founded in 1862, and is allegedly the oldest organisation in the world associated with psychical research. The Ghost Club originated in Cambridge, mainly through the discussions about ghosts among the fellows of Trinity College. So, much like the real Ghost Club, the Everlasting Club is based in Jesus College, Cambridge. And it was founded in 1738 and has its annual meeting on the 2nd of November. The club meets less formally at other times of the year and invariably discusses ghosts and the supernatural. Members tend to deliver speeches and present papers on ghostly matters. It has almost no resources of its own, being organised what's described as an informal dining circle, whose members just generally meet each year. And so our characters are members of this organisation. It's not a particularly large organisation. And you have been summoned to the office of J.D. Duff, who is, I mean, he's a higher up member than the three of you. But he's not like he's not one of the elite members, if you like. And he has summoned you, and he's explaining to you that a letter had been received from a certain Major Creighton Walsh, who lives in the village of Holywell in Cambridge. And he seems to have a problem that he's hoping the Everlasting Club may be able to help him out with. So I'll send the letter over to you and let you see the letter. It should appear on screen for you. If you can't read it, you can click on I should be able to click on the text button on the top of the window. And you can read the text. It says, to J.W. Clark, M.A. Trinity College, Wednesday, 15th of October, 1902. Dear Sir, I have been reliably informed that you and your Everlasting Club may be able to render me of assistance. I apologise for approaching you in this manner, but I have exhausted the alternatives. I am recently returned from the conflict in the Transvaal, and in my absence, an unnatural entity has taken residence in my house and has been terrifying my wife and the staff. This appears to be a manifestation of the local Holywell ghost of which you are no doubt aware. My local priest has told me that as no one is possessed, then an exorcism would not be approved by his bishop. I therefore must explore alternative measures. I am given to understanding that your society is most interested in such matters, and here I hope the situation may therefore lead to mutual advantage. I invite you to come to my residence and establish for yourself the nature of these happenings, and if possible, remove the source of them. I will pay reasonable expenses and whatever fee is considered normal in these circumstances. Should this be agreeable, then please let me know of your travel plans, and I will send my man to collect you from the St. Ives railway station at the appropriate time. Your most humble servant, Major Creighton Walsh, DSO. Holywell House, Holywell, Hunts. And so, this is the briefing that you have been given. This is the remit. Now, the game itself, it runs on a system called the Gumshoe engine. The thing about the Gumshoe engine is that each character has a set of abilities, or like a long list of abilities. And they are split between what they call investigative abilities and general abilities. Now, general abilities are described as how you get stuff done. Things like sneaking, fighting, and running are all done with general abilities. If you have a general ability that has a rating of 8 or higher, you are incredibly talented at that activity. And you might get a cool bonus if you're using it, depending on which Gumshoe game you're playing. If you don't have any rating at all in a general ability, you suck at it. And you generally won't succeed even at non-trivial tasks. So if you've got like a 0 rating in driving, it might let you drive down to the local shop and back, but you'd kind of really have difficulty if you were trying any fancy maneuvers that require a dice roll. And in comparison, if you had an 8 in driving, then you're a getaway driver. You are baby driver, you know. If you have a 0 in firearms, you are useless at using firearms. An 8 or higher, you are an expert marksman. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. You only need 1 die in this game, and that says D6. And you roll it. The target number is usually a 4. If you roll a 4 or higher on a general ability, you usually succeed. It depends on the difficulty of the task. That number may be a little higher. That means that obviously you'd succeed about half the time. But you raise these odds by spending points from your general ability pools. And you add those to your D6 roll. So if you want to shoot someone, spend 2 points from your shooting roll, adds the 2 points to the D6, and you'll only fail if you roll a 1. Spend 3 points, you're guaranteed to hit on a D6. When your pool drops to 0, you're stuck just rolling the D6 until you get a rest and the points refresh. It says here, don't be shy about spending these points. Dropping enemies quickly is a great idea, and you'll have chances for your points to refresh. Investigative abilities, which are the majority of the abilities you have on the sheet, they are how you learn stuff and find stuff out. They are what makes the Gumshoe system unique. They're broken into 3 sections: academic, interpersonal, and technical knowledge. They all work in pretty much the same way. If you have 1 or more points in any of them, you're an expert at it. And this matters during the game, because all you need to do is tell the GM that you're using an appropriate ability, and you'll automatically get the clue if there is one. No roll required. The idea is that the fun is in what you do with the information, not how you get it. So let's say you're researching a private library. I may ask you, do you have any points in research? Or library use in this case? You say yes, and I'll tell you anything that you can find out. No roll required. Same thing with interpersonal abilities. If you've got flattery, you tell or role play out that you're flattering someone, and it pays off. It pays off. You can spend your investigative points to get cool advantages. The example here is if you have the ability flirting, for example. We don't have that in Casting the Runes, but it's in the Gumshoe SRD. You meet the evil mastermind's stunningly attractive protege. You tell the GM that you're flirting with the NPC, and he or she will let slip important clues during the banter. If you tell the GM you're spending 1 or more flirting points to get cool stuff, and you'll get a special benefit, and in this case, the protege may become infatuated with you and double-cross his or her boss at the best possible time. Just remember that spending a point from your investigative ability doesn't stop you from knowing the topic, it just limits how many times you can ask for special cool stuff. And that's pretty much it. That's how the game works. Okay? So here we are. We find ourselves right at the start of this adventure in J.D. Duff's office. He has shown you the letter. He explains that this might be an interesting opportunity for you to prove yourselves to the rest of the club. And maybe you could then do one of the presentations or speeches about what you have discovered, assuming you discover anything at all during this investigation. Okay?
Well, yes. This all sounds frightfully exciting. JD, I thank you for giving us this opportunity. I'm certain that we will not disappoint you.
I don't doubt it at all, he says. He's quite a boisterous, friendly character. As a lecturer, his students love him. He's renowned throughout the college, and he's very, very popular with the students. And he is kind of just giving you this kind of beaming smile. He knows that he's giving you an opportunity here, and he hopes that you grab it with both hands. And he's quite excited by what you find as well. There is mention, he says, of this ghost in the letter, the Holywell ghost. Now, we've looked into this in the past. Apparently a young girl committed suicide at some time around the time of Edward the Confessor. And the ghost is supposed to haunt the area around the Ferryboat Inn. I suspect that this is not connected, but you are obviously willing to. You are free to conduct your own investigation into the matter. But there's been no mention of it, the ghost of the young girl, ever entering a residence, particularly one so far from the inn. But that is, of course, up to you how you approach that matter.
I'm sure he's just throwing that name in there to try and gain our interest.
I mean, possibly. Still, it would be interesting to find out just exactly what experiences they've been having over at that house.
Indeed.
Are you intending to head straight there? Well, once you've made your travel arrangements and what have you? Or is there anything you would like to do beforehand?
Can we visit the library ourselves and do?
Oh, you can. You certainly can. Yeah. What was it you would be looking for? Is there anything that you'd be interested in finding out?
Any history relating to this Holywell ghost? Is there anything about the ferry boat inn?
Yeah, okay.
That girl's suicide?
Yes, okay. I assume you're going to be using an ability here. I assume it's library use. Do you have library use at all?
I'll just use a librarian.
If only it was that easy.
I've got 2 points.
Okay. Excellent. So
history, 2 points.
Right. I mean, if you wanted to spend a point of your library use,
I will.
that's
So-
that's certainly a thing that you can do. So, I mean, what you can do if you open up your character sheet,
Yep.
um,
Got a plus and a minus next
you
to
do. So all you have to do on your character sheet is click on the word library use,
Yeah.
and then it will ask you if you wish to spend a point or 2 points or whatever. You click on 1 point and then click. You click the word spend, and that should take care of everything for you.
Oh, I don't click on the plus minus.
No, just click on the word
No.
words library use.
How many dice I'm going to use?
Oh, it's points. Yeah,
Yeah, points.
points make prizes.
So we will roll.
Yeah. So you spend your point. Yeah, you find some information about this this supposed haunting at Holywell. About 1050, there was a young lady named Juliet Tousley. She was 17 years old, very, very pretty, and very much the darling of the village at the time. She fell in love with a handsome woodsman, Thomas Zuhl. And she used to go out into the forest, you find out, into the woods around the area, and collect. She used to gather wildflowers, as she was wont to do. And then one day she spies Thomas Zuhl coming through the woods. And so she makes her presence known and approaches him, and she tells him of her unrequited love for him. And Thomas, being a bit of a lout, and more interested perhaps in ale and fun with his friends, he laughs at her and turns her down. And this breaks poor Juliet's heart. And so that evening, she heads to the woodshed at the back of the house and takes out a length of rope and proceeds down along the embankment to the ferryboat inn. And at a particularly sturdy-looking tree, she hangs herself in full view of the inn. Now, she was adored by the rest of the village, but having taken your own life is quite a bad thing back in those days, and she was not allowed to be buried in consecrated ground. The villagers took pity on her, particularly the owner of the ferryboat inn, and he had her buried under an unmarked grave under a slab of granite on the grounds of the inn. And years later, as the inn's passed into the hands of other landlords, they've expanded the inn, but they didn't move the grave. And so this slab of granite is now part of the floor of the ferryboat inn. And Juliet's ghost is said to haunt the area on the anniversary of her suicide, which happens to be March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. And thus the local legend was born.
So was her body just found hanging? Nobody saw her take her own life?
No, that's correct, yeah. Nobody was with her. Nobody saw her. She hung herself in full view of the inn, possibly maybe as a display for Thomas Zuhl, who was a frequenter of the inn. Yeah.
What a frightful story. Imagine. One simple exchange. And she topped herself. What a rotter.
Quite depressing, isn't it?
It's such a waste.
My goodness.
Yeah. Is anybody else wanting to do anything before you set off for?
I think after hearing that, I need a drink.
I don't think there's anything else I wouldn't do.
Okay. But you make contact with obviously the major. You arrange your arrival date, which happens to be the 29th of October. And you set off on your travels. You take a train through the autumnal English countryside. It's very, very pleasant. Yeah, very picturesque countryside, Cambridgeshire countryside. It's a very short train journey. At the train station, you are met by a representative of the Major's household. A jowly, kind of stout man, very, very well dressed, ramrod stiff back, taking great pride in the way he is dressed. He introduces himself as Jenkins, and he is clearly the manservant of the household. He arranges for the porter to put your luggage onto the car, and then there's another short drive through the narrow, twisting roads towards Holywell. The house itself, as you approach, there's a narrow road, a driveway just off of that, and then this 3-story building that is Holywell House. As you kind of pull up round onto the gravel driveway, you can see there's a little bit of domestic activity going on. There's a privet hedge that runs from the edge of the house to the other side of the property. A wrought iron gate is through that and is there in the hedge, and you can just see through there a maid who is hanging out some bed linen on a washing line. She has her back to you and is industriously hanging out the washing. There's a man standing just behind her in work clothes. He also has his back to you. He's kind of between you and her, a few feet, possibly engaged in conversation with her. You're not sure. And then they're out of sight as the car pulls round onto the front of the house. Jenkins kind of steps out, opens the door for you. The Major will be meeting you in the parlour. If you would follow me, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, my good man.
And he leads you through into through the main front door, this big, heavy oak door, into the vestibule, the hallway. Who's leading the way between? Jenkins is in front, obviously, but who's coming next?
I'll go first. Next.
Okay. Nice. Now, do you want to give us your character's name and what it is he does, as we're at this point?
My character is called Maxton Matthews.
Yes.
And he is a curator of a museum.
Excellent. Okay, and certainly an academic fellow.
Yes, he's really trying to find and research all he can for his museum and gain extra points, shall we say.
Okay, nice. Okay, and so Maxton's leading the way. And as you kind of step through into the hallway, there is a large archway on the right that seems to lead into like a sitting room of some kind. And you hear a dull thud, and then a tattered leather ball kind of rolls across the floor in front of you. And out of the corner of your eye, you see a small figure disappearing further into the room as the ball kind of rolls under a chest of drawers that's kind of sat there in the hallway. Jenkins pays it no mind. He's just, this way, please. And he leads you into the parlour.
I'll probably just be looking around a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a well-appointed house. It's a 3-story, quite a large place. He's obviously made his money as Major Walsh. He's doing all right for himself. Wood paneling everywhere, as you would expect. Dark wood paneling, and these wooden floors with these expensive-looking rugs that kind of line them. And you're led through into a sitting room, which is similarly well appointed, with the crystal chandelier, comfortable seats laying around, and an occasional table sat in the middle of the room there. And standing by the fireplace, you see this gentleman, the Major, you assume. He's kind of a handsome, got a slightly angular face, a Roman nose. He's got medium build, relatively tall, and much like Jenkins, his back is ramrod straight. It's very military bearing that he has. He's carrying a cane kind of loosely, or he's leaning kind of on this cane. But he doesn't look comfortable with it. It's like he's not quite used to it, maybe, or he's not used to carrying this cane.
Okay.
And also, sitting down in one of the armchairs is quite a pretty young lady. Probably some years younger than the Major. She's got kind of long auburn hair that's kind of pushed up in the fashion of the day. Very green eyes, slim, medium height. She's got quite a kind-looking face as you look at her, and she's kind of just sat there in this chair. The Major kind of turns around as you enter. Here at last. And Jenkins introduces the three of you. And there's a few moments of formality as the Major introduces himself, Major Creighton Walsh, and his wife, Mrs. Kenesha Walsh. She greets you all. Slight Edinburgh accent. Quite a pleasant Edinburgh accent she's got. And she seems quite charming. Jenkins, would you mind getting some tea for our guests? And Jenkins kind of steps out of the room. He just bows his head, steps out of the room for a moment. So, you're from the Everlasting Club, are you?
Indeed.
Yes.
Sorry, what? I was looking at the young lady in the seat with the fascinating green eyes.
Okay. So yeah, who have we got here? We've met Maxton already. Who are you playing, Croy?
I am playing Albert Eckley.
Okay. What does he do?
Albert, what does he do? He is a man of many means, of course. He has found his way into some money, which affords him a reasonable way of life. But he has a little bit of a habit of getting into things and not really seeing them through. The thrill of the chase rather than the actual hunt and slaughter of its victims, perhaps, I don't know, but yes. Albert. Young-ish.
Oh. Youngish.
Yes, youngish. Somewhere in his 20s, I would have him.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's kind of eyeing up Mrs. Walsh. a little, I guess. Then, yeah. And what the final member of our group then, Britt? Who are you playing, and what does he do?
So my character is called Luther Henrys, and I am an occultist.
Oh, so this is his bag.
Yes, I am quite thin, average height. I'm very pale. Glasses, and yeah, like you say, this is my bag, my thing. So
Right.
I want to find out what's going on.
Excellent.
And my eye contact is with the major.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and he meets you, your eye contact, and he seems to be on the level. Right. Shall we get down to business?
Please tell us what's been going on. We're here to help.
Well, I hope so. It's been nothing too major, but I believe it started with some of the servants have been seeing shadows out of the corner of their eyes, hearing sounds, footsteps, perhaps whispering periodically. It has gone to the point where one of our staff, young Elizabeth, has decided that she would leave our employ, and she left not a week ago. Fortunately, though at rather short notice, I was able to employ Maud, who has proven to be quite exceptional. But all of the staff have experienced something out of the ordinary. Mostly just seeing figures moving at the corner of their eyes and the strange sounds that I mentioned.
Have you experienced anything strange?
Myself? No, not really.
Not really.
Well, not that I'm aware of.
And you've returned from the war.
That's right. The
Were-
Transvaal.
Were these happenings going on while you were away, or did they start when you came back?
Well, I believe they started a short time before I arrived home. And Albert, as he says that, you see Mrs. Walsh looks down at her feet suddenly. Yes. Before I arrived back from the Transvaal, I believe Elizabeth had some experiences.
My lady, please, regale us of your tales of this. Do not look so down.
Do you have assess honesty as an ability?
I will
Mr.
have, yes, I do. Interpersonal skills. I also have charm as well.
Okay, right. So perhaps what you got from that little thing from Mrs. Walsh is that you kind of think that perhaps she doesn't necessarily agree with the Major's assessment of this situation.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But clearly she's unwilling to undermine her husband.
Okay. Well, that would be the perfect excuse for Albert to get some time at a later stage to merely talk with her.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What about Maxton? What is Maxton? Are you just listening to the conversation between Luther and the Major, or are you paying any attention elsewhere?
Well, I'm listening, but I'm also like looking around.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm with the look of the house and the status. I am also just very conscious of what may be around and interesting lying around. Like any objects or artifacts that, you know.
Yeah, and I think perhaps you might be a little bit disappointed. I mean, there's nothing here that would pique your curiosity as a museum curator. It's I mean, there's some fine bits of china and stuff, and as Jenkins brings a tray in with tea, you can see that there's clearly perhaps it's been in the family for a while, this china, but it's fine looking stuff, not really worthy of a museum, but you know, very, very nice, much the same. And perhaps as he entered, and Luther had asked that question, as he kind of comes through, perhaps you notice also that when the major mentioned that the occurrences started happening before he arrived, that you saw Jenkins kind of stiffen slightly as well, as he put the tray down on the table and begins pouring tea.
I think seeing that, if obviously without interrupting any current conversation, I will ask Jenkins. As he's passing tea or anything, I will just quite comfortably just ask him, it's like, so what have you experienced with all the goings on recently?
Much as the Major has said, I have seen figures out of the corner of my eye. Shadows, I suppose. Nothing too disturbing, but Elizabeth, she had more... well, she seemed to be more frightened by some of the things that she saw and heard. Mainly footsteps on the landing at night. Outside of her room. Yes. He looks at the Major for approval, almost. And the Major just looks at him and says, "Tell him what you saw, Jenkins. No problem." One evening, I heard a noise in my room, madam. I awoke, and I reached across to switch on the oil lamp. When I lit the lamp, I saw a shadow falling across the room. A tall man wearing a hat. There was no figure, just the shadow. It stayed there for a number of seconds before fading away.
It just stayed there and stared at you? Or...
It was just a shadow, madam, but there was nothing there to cause the shadow, if you get my meaning.
Yes.
Sorry, not madam. He wouldn't have called you madam because you're not a madam.
No.
Sir.
I was just glossing over that.
Oh, yeah, so that's my bad. Sir.
What type of hat? You said it's a shadow, but it looked like it had a hat.
Yes.
Are we talking top hat?
Not quite. It was quite a tall hat, though, sir. I mean, obviously not a gentleman. A gentleman would never wear a hat indoors.
Of course.
I don't think we're talking... The way you were talking is when it's not talking about a gentleman, so rules need not apply.
No, but the figure was definitely that of a man.
How
How can you be so certain?
From general bearing, if you get my meaning, sir. Quite a tall fellow, quite stout.
How did that make you feel? Were you aghast? Were you shivering?
Were you drinking?
Do you say that out loud?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, he shoots you a withering glance as you say that. Certainly not, sir. I was surprised, I suppose. I tried to to persuade myself that it must be some rational explanation. But I could find none at the time. He's finished pouring the tea. Will that be all, sir?
So how long ago was this sighting?
This would have been perhaps 8 days ago, sir. Just before Elizabeth left.
And where do you know where she is now? Where has she gone? She's left service.
I believe that she returned to her family in Dorset, sir.
Who would you say she was closest to in this house? Who she might have confided with, so we can talk to them.
I like to think that she thought of me as rather a father figure, sir. But clearly, says the Major, the girl was of a rather nervous disposition.
Can I ask you, Major, what makes you think this is connected to the Hollywell ghost?
Well, what else could it be? Well, certainly been no experiences before.
Well,
Before a few weeks ago.
what I understand of the Hollywell ghost, it was an unfortunate girl that took her own life.
That is correct.
But
We've heard the stories.
Your man here, Jenkins, says or thinks he saw a male figure. Has anybody actually seen a female ghost?
I believe Elizabeth said that she had seen one, sir, if you'll excuse my imposition.
So how many members of staff do you have?
There's Maud, the housemaid. There is Jenkins, of course, the manservant. And Miss Glover, who is the cook.
So just those three members of staff.
That's correct.
Do you have anybody else working, around at this time, or just your servants?
No, just the three that I've mentioned.
Do you have any children?
Once again, Mrs. Walsh kind of looks away out of the window, and the Major, his demeanour changes slightly. He's slightly less gruff. No, we have no children.
Well
Do you have
then,
Wait.
quite Matthews, quite. Our first promising lead, I
Yes.
say.
I think on that little revelation, I might like you all to make a stability roll, if you wouldn't mind.
Totally stable.
So, if you open up your sheet,
Yeah.
stability is under the general abilities. Now,
yeah.
the weird thing about you can spend points to increase your chances of passing stability, but you will lose them if you spend them. So it may not be in your own best interest to do that. But
You did say spend your points, did you not?
no, that's correct. But I mean, it's entirely up to you if you want to spend your stability points in this. If you fail a stability test, you will lose stability anyway.
Oh, right.
But if you spend points, you will lose those points spent. And if you still fail, you will lose even more.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah?
So 2.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to spend one.
Okay, you're going to spend a point. Okay. Okay. What about Albert? If you do you see your sheet?
I do. I'm
Yeah.
clicking on it. Should I be able to just click on the word stability, or do I click on?
You click on the word stability.
It ain't doing anything.
Is it not? Let me just check that you actually have.
Also,
the right
if there's a house,
image.
if there's a house image. Oh, wait a minute. There's a sheet popped up in the background. Hang on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's too busy looking at the wife.
Yeah. Spend.
If you want to spend it, you don't have to spend
No,
points
I'm
on
not
this.
going to
remember,
spend. I got 3.
but- Okay. So all of you failed,
Yes.
which is exceptional. So you were all going to lose. You're going to lose 3 points of stability each for that. As you
Okay, that's
now
good.
realise that you have seen something that may not necessarily be human.
It's just like a minute. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
How do we deduct the 3?
Now, that's a very good point.
I just clicked on it.
Yeah, if you, I think you can do the plus minus thing on it.
Oh,
Let
I
me
did it
just-
on the left-hand side.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, you can use the bit on the left hand side and move it to the right number.
Yeah.
Click on the right number in the grid.
I say, Matthews, when we walked in the house, when we walked in,
Yes.
now, you saw that as well, did you not?
Yes. Like under the chest.
The ball, the leather. You don't have any dogs, do you, Major?
No, certainly not.
Henry's. You saw it as well. What? What? Yes.
Did I see it?
You did. You all saw it. Yeah, you all saw the ball. You heard it, and you saw the ball roll
And Jenkins,
right in front of Maxton when it happened.
Jenkins just carried it like
Yeah,
no
Gab,
reaction
yeah.
at all.
Yeah, that's right.
I go to where I would look to expect to see the ball.
So you're going to leave the room.
Major, if you would entertain a thought as I have, just for a second, I thought I saw something. We all did, and it's got us quite rattled already. We've just been in the house a minute. Can I please use the next room to investigate under one of your bookshelves or sideboards or some such?
Yes, Jenkins, help the man, would you? And Jenkins straightens himself up, and he stands at the door, gestures you to lead the way. And you step out back into the vestibule, and as you make your way down the corridor towards the front door, the unit chest of drawers is there on your right-hand side. And you bend down and look underneath. It's dark under there, but you manage to. Perhaps you have a book of matches or something that you strike and have a look under there.
Jenkins, get me a candle.
Certainly, sir. And he takes a candle from a candlestick from perhaps it's on top of the unit. He lights it for you and passes it down to you, and you bend down, looking under the chest of drawers. You see nothing.
I say, oh my lord, I was fully expect. Here's the candle bag. Let me stand up, dust myself down.
What were you looking for, sir?
The frightfulest strange thing that when we walked in here, there was a leather ball, a handball of sorts. It rolled under there. We saw it, all three. As clear as a candle in your hand.
Really, sir? That's extraordinary.
I
But-
know.
However, I mean, such events have happened in the last few weeks here.
Oh?
Well,
Don't spill
Elizabeth-
anything here, just... Please, come walk with me and tell me as we rejoin the others.
Okay. As you walk down the corridor, and he basically recounts how Elizabeth had said that she had seen the figure of a young woman a few times in the house, and she described a smell of lavender that had accompanied it each time, and that they'd all experienced issues when they'd walked into empty rooms and seen shadows move, figures kind of moving out of the way or into adjoining rooms. It's got everybody rather unnerved, sir, to be honest.
I fully understand and comprehend why that may be. My goodness, I believe that we have witnessed it as well. I walk back into the room. But Henry's,
Okay. Yeah.
Matthews, excuse me for the imposition. The ball that we saw is not under the wardrobe in the hall.
That can't be right.
I know.
A ghost ball?
Henry's, have you ever heard of such a thing?
Can't say I have, old chap.
My goodness. Jenkins here was regaling me of a tale that when this figure was seen, there was a smell of lavender. I look around.
Yeah. And you can see Mrs. Walsh. Yes, I've certainly smelt that scent occasionally in the house. I have not seen quite as much as some of the other staff, but yes, that's very familiar. What do you think it means?
I mean, it just means they're just a nice scent wafting around your house. Almost pleasant, isn't it?
I mean, yes, I suppose.
Where do they get lavender from? It's over the seas, isn't it? It's not one of ours.
Well, I do believe they have some up in Scotland. But perhaps, well, I don't really know. If all we have found is strange aromas, then that doesn't amount to very much, is it? It's not hard evidence, is it? The Major says.
What hard evidence do you think we need?
Well, I would like you to find the source of these happenings and perhaps get rid of it, of course. But a strange smell is not really, well, doesn't prove anything, does it?
No, I'm sure there's much that will not prove a lot. How long have you lived in this house, by the way?
I bought it just before we were married, which was, well, probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I can assure you we experienced nothing of this kind before.
Who did you buy it from, Old Bean?
I had an agent find it for me.
They told you nothing of... Only the best. Yes, of course, they wish to get their commission.
You assume that there is some foul history to the place?
It is certainly possible.
History to most places.
But I can assure you, up until recently, it has had quite a pleasant atmosphere.
Has anything happened that might arouse such fearsome spirits of lavender and ball throwing?
I feel perhaps you're mocking me, sir.
I only mock your unwillingness to believe. These are the start. This is the investigation. This is the process that we like to follow. That is what we do. That is why you called us here. You cannot poo-poo such things, as trivial as they may seem to you. They are the threads that we will pull apart to find the source of what you are talking of, and perhaps even learn how to dismiss it and give you back a normal life.
Well, that certainly sounds most agreeable. And I admire your candor.
How old do we think the house is? Could we estimate that?
Has anybody got architecture? I can see actually two of you to have architecture. Yeah, the house itself is probably less than 100 years old.
Oh, so it's fairly...
It's not like an ancient place. You've kind of, as you're approaching, I think both Luther and Maxton, you could have known this house seems to have been built from new. It's not like wings have been added on or anything like that. This is its original design as well. So it's not like there was another house there before this has been built around. Yeah. So that's
to the ferry boat inn.
You're probably. I mean, you if you were to ask the major.
How far away are
the ferry boat inn? Well, it's about less than a mile, just down the road at the front of the house.
It's quite close then.
Yes. It's on the edge of the River Ouse, of course. I thought perhaps you might wish to establish lodgings there during your time here.
Oh, you're not putting us up here?
Oh, that wouldn't do, would it? Certainly. No, that wouldn't do at all. Well, as you say that, yeah. You kind of look at him. Yeah, yeah, I think he's got to assess honesty. You've all got to assess honesty, haven't you? Yeah. I think you probably all kind of see he's a little bit apprehensive about the idea of you staying in the house.
It would help us to carry out a thorough investigation if we actually were able to stay here overnight. See if anything goes bump in the night.
He kind of turns his back. He kind of leans against the mantelpiece on the fire as he turns his back on you, and his wife looks across at him and then at the three of you and says, certainly, I will have Jenkins unload your luggage. We have room, but one of the rooms is probably small. I apologize.
There's no need to apologise. We're here to help. Here to dismiss what we can.
Jenkins, would you see to it? And the manservant nods, and he leaves the room. Yeah, and you're kind of left in this slightly awkward silence as the major has kind of turned his back to you and seems to be drumming his fingers on the mantelpiece. it's not like he's annoyed. You kind of sense maybe he's more just a little bit nervous or worried, maybe.
I'd like to use charm.
Okay.
I will walk up to him and aside and just stand. My good man, please entertain us with your thoughts. I am as unfamiliar with the world as you are wise. I resort to your experience and understanding. Although I am a member of the Everlasting Club, I fear my years are not as fulfilled as yours have been. Please, a penny for your thoughts, sir.
Okay. Are you willing to spend a point on that one?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I'll save the other one for Mrs. Walsh.
Okay. He kind of turns and he kind of looks at you. His face softens slightly, and he says, "When I was in Africa, I suffered an accident which has invalided me from the army. I think it may have upset my nerves a little. If you stay here, then I must perhaps apologize if you hear any shouting during the night." And as he says that, he's almost dragging these words out as he's clearly uncomfortable with kind of admitting any kind of weakness.
You served us well. You served king and country. You have nothing to be ashamed of. If I were just that bit older, I would have been fighting alongside you, and then I would have been able to burden some of that you fear. This is of no consequence to us, I assure you. We are most well versed in the ability to recognize the voices of our kind compared to the voices of others.
That's most kind of you, old chap. He turns away again, leaning against the mantelpiece. He's clearly he. Although you've kind of won him over. He's clearly embarrassed by the whole situation.
I turn round and look at the others and just what's next then, Henry's? Where do we take this investigation now?
Have a talk with the other members of staff.
Yeah.
Go and see Cook.
Yes.
Was Ward the gardener?
Maud was
Housemaid.
Okay.
yeah, the housemaid. Yeah. Maud was the housemaid, and Nestor is the cook, and Jenkins is the manservant, and they're the only three staff.
I've written it down and I can't find it.
Nestor Glover.
What time of day did you say it was?
It's probably early afternoon by this point. Yeah. And I think I will take a little break. So, you have suggested, Luther, that you might wish to interview the other two members of staff that you have not encountered as yet. And Jenkins is ordered to fetch them. Is there any particular way you want to interview them? Do you want to interview them together, separately? Is there anything?
Would it be possible for me to actually go and talk to the cook instead of her coming here to the room with her master?
That would certainly probably be beneficial for her, as she will probably be preparing the meal for this evening.
And I
so
can tell her that I'm a vegetarian.
a civilized man.
I need
Yeah.
some carrot soup making.
Yeah. I guess that you can suggest then that you wish to that the cook shouldn't trouble herself, and that you will go and speak to her as she is in the kitchen. And the major looks a little perplexed, because you're a guest here, you shouldn't be going into the kitchen. But he doesn't object. And so Jenkins goes to show you the way. What about the other two? What about Albert and Maxton? What are you wishing to? I mean, there is Maud, the housemaid, as well, that has not yet been interviewed.
I'm assuming she would have been the one outside hanging the clothes.
That's a logical assumption.
That would be good.
Yeah, I think I've got to at least kind of have a chat with her.
I will go with Matthews. Because I would like to have a word with Matthews without anybody overhearing, and outside would be a good place.
Okay, yeah. So you want to interview Maud while she's outdoors in the garden.
Yes.
Okay, so the idea being that you've arranged then for basically free reign to go and speak with the servants. The major is, as you kind of suggest this, the major, he seems a little bit agitated by that, but he's not against it necessarily. He doesn't stop it. He doesn't say that is not happening.
Yeah.
He seems to defer to your expert opinion in these matters. And so you go your separate ways. We'll deal with Luther and speaking with Nesta, the cook, first, I think. So we'll throw up a picture of Nesta, just so that everybody can see her. And you kind of enter, it's quite a steamy environment, quite humid in there. It's been quite a warm October, actually, as it stands. And the sun is kind of creeping through a window at the back of the kitchen, and is just kind of adding to the heat that is being generated in this room from the range and the various things that are cooking away here. Nesta herself, she's quite young. You think estimating she's in her early 20s. She's got this light brown hair. You can see she's got quite dark rings under her blue eyes. And she's wearing this kind of white apron over this cream cotton striped dress. And as you kind of enter, she kind of looks up at you. And is a little bit surprised. She was half expecting perhaps either Jenkins or Maud, maybe. And it gives you a quizzical glance. And then kind of almost like she remembers herself and kind of looks away. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Nesta. My name is Luther. I'm here at the request of your employers. They seem to have a problem with shadows and things going bump in the night.
Oh.
Would you be able to tell me anything? Have you witnessed anything yourself?
Well, begging your pardon, sir, Mr. Luther. As you're probably aware...
Speak freely.
She's stirring away at something on the range. They be ghosts, sir. Oh, they definitely be ghosts. Some bad luck upon this house. Some terrible bad luck upon this house, sir.
Have you seen anything yourself? Heard anything?
Ah, I've seen plenty, sir. I've seen plenty and heard plenty too.
Do tell.
Occasionally, I see shadows in this very kitchen, sir. And she kind of looks behind you as she says that. Over there. Where you're standing, sir. I seen her. And I seen a man, sir. Dark-skinned man. And if you're begging your pardon, sir, he'd not be wearing any clothes.
So, not a shadow, an actual person?
Aye, sir. Aye.
And what did the female look like, the woman?
She was a sad woman, sir. Forlorn looking. Very thin. But it looked like she was with child, if you get my meaning.
And when was this? When did you see them together?
Oh, I didn't see them together, sir. I saw the man. I saw him perhaps a couple of days, 2 days after the Major had returned from Africa, sir. It was a splendid occasion when he came back, as you can imagine. And I was cooking something special. And it was getting quite late, and I looked across that where you were standing right now, sir, and he was standing there watching me.
And have any of the other staff seen this man, this dark man?
I imagine Elizabeth saw him. She was seeing things all the time. It's like they were attracted to her in some way, maybe. I just think she was unlucky. I think she had... maybe... somebody put the eye on her, you know? Anyway, she's gone now. She's gone. She couldn't take it. Every room she went in, she said.
Just one more thing. Do you have... Have your employers ever had a child, or have they tried to have a child? Do they want children?
She looks quite... yeah, she kind of looks away from you as you say that. And then I think you might need to use an ability here if you have one, an interpersonal one that might be useful. Let us have a look at what you got, Luther.
I could try and intimidate her with my class.
You've got charm. You got charm, my son.
Charm or reassure, but reassurance even.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, reassurance might be quite a useful one if you can reassure in some way.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay, so the idea being, if you are able to explain how you might reassure her in some way, if there's
It's for the benefit of her employers that I know as much as possible, and whatever she tells me, I won't let her employers know that she's told me.
Okay. If you want to spend a point of reassurance there, then, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she seems to believe you when you say that. She has no reason to not. And she says, before he left for the war, Mrs. Walsh, she was expecting, but she miscarried, sir.
That is sad.
Yes, sir. They had the nursery all made up, but when it happened, they locked it. I think it's too painful for them.
All right. Thank you, Nesta.
You're welcome, sir. Please. You didn't hear that from me.
No. Just one more thing. No meat in my food for the evening, please.
No meat, sir?
No, strictly vegetables only, I'm afraid.
She looks at you like you're mad. What about fish, sir?
No, just vegetables. Just vegetables, Nesta. That'll be fine. You can cook them.
And she smiles. She says, "Don't worry, I'll think of something, sir."
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Outside in the garden, Maud is collecting the washing in now. The sun, it's quite a bit of a sun trap out in this part of the garden. And since you've been there, she's been hanging washing out, taking washing in. She's out there at the moment. She's just gathering some sheets in that she'd hung out previously. She's quite softly spoken young lady. Quite young again, probably 18-ish, early 20s. And she jumps a little when she sees you as you kind of come out.
Before we get there,
yep.
Just as we're walking down this and away from the house, just a few steps before we get close to her, I assume there's a bit of a stride to be taken to get down to where she is.
Yes, yeah. As you kind of come out the back.
Yeah, she's not in earshot.
No, not at all. Nobody's in earshot.
I say, Matthews, my good man.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh seems frightfully disturbed after the war. He said he shouts at night. Do you think he's capable of violence? Do you think perhaps that maybe this Elizabeth that we hear about, do you think he perhaps offed her in jolly fashion?
I don't imagine it's that much, but no, I do wonder about the shouting and the could be violence. But we have heard nothing yet to say that there's violence against the staff. I mean,
Quite.
we also have no proof of where Elizabeth went, but I'm sure we can figure that out.
He must have been quite a formidable soldier to have survived, never mind come back in one piece.
Yes.
Very well.
Seems very, very sure about... Well, he seems very unsure about what's been going on.
I think he knows more than he's letting on, if I am
Yeah.
truthful.
So do I. He seems very unsure, but he's not telling us everything. That is definitely clear.
Yes, quite. Well, perhaps if we listen to some of his words that he shouts, maybe he'll give us all the clues we need, and that will be an easy one. But perhaps the old major. Anyway, lovely place they've got here.
It is very beautiful. As we're going down, is she alone now?
She is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just gathering up a basket, and she kind of turns and, oh, excuse me, sirs, you gave me quite a fright.
Apologies.
Good afternoon.
Are you guests here? I think Mr. Jenkins have mentioned that we might be having visitors.
Yes.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, we have.
She's always here. She's always here, even when she isn't. It is Ange. Like a strange ghost in an old house.
Random squeaks every now and again. Bless. So yes, we are visiting your masters. Is that
Yeah, master. Yeah, that's.
So we are here to visit your master about recent occurrences. I am Maxton Matthews.
Good to meet you, Mr. Matthews.
Colleague, friend, Albert Eckley, is that?
Mr. Eckley at your service, ma'am.
Mr. Eckley, sir. How can I help you?
We're just trying to ascertain more information about the happenings and what each and everyone has seen.
Oh, I've heard they're quite terrible.
Have you not experienced anything yourself?
Not since I've been here. I'm new. I have only been here for a few days, and I have not experienced anything.
Huh. Okay, but you have talked to the others about this, or have they
I
told?
heard that my predecessor. Is that the word?
Yes.
That's a fine word.
Yeah. Apparently, she. I mean, they didn't tell me this when I took the job, but she left because she was seeing and hearing things. Mr. Jenkins says he's seen things too, but I haven't seen anything.
Okay. Well, from what they say and how they act, that's a good thing.
Yes, I suppose it is. But I worry. It's frightening, isn't it? I don't want to see anything.
No, I can't imagine that you do. This is very strange happenings.
Maud, my dear, have you heard the master shout at night? Does he proclaim his joy of the world, or does he relive war of killing or such? Can you say anything of that?
I shouldn't really say, sir.
Oh, please, it is germane to our investigations. We wish to free the house of these things. It would be in great honor and obviously in much secrecy. I have we have no interest in bringing anything other than freedom of whatever spirit it is that ails you to the house, and your words would help.
Well, as you say, sometimes the master he shouts at night. Sometimes, like he's afraid of something. I don't know what it is. I don't hear. We're on the floor above, and I don't hear much, but we can hear him shout sometimes. It sounds terrible. He must have experienced some terrible things.
Yes, one can only imagine.
Quite.
Did your master and Mrs. Walsh share the bedroom at this time?
She blushes. You say that. They do, sir.
Apology. I only ask if the shouting may.
I don't think he's shouting at Mrs. Walsh. Oh, no, no, no.
Oh no! If it would disturb her sleep, of course. Just thinking of her health as well. Obviously. Okay. So when you applied for this job, they didn't tell you anything about predecessor at all. There's just an opening, and they
said no. They'd said that the previous maid that she had left suddenly, and that they needed a replacement at short notice. I was unemployed at the time. I jumped at the chance, as anyone would.
Are you from around here? You local? Originally?
St. Ives. Wait, St. Ives was where the train station was that you were collected by Jenkins.
Okay, so it's like safe to assume she probably won't know the law of the town.
Well, I mean, it possibly not, but she might know. If some of the others will have told her about the ghost, Juliet's ghost or whatever, but yeah.
Have you slept well while you've been here in recent employment?
Oh, very well, very well. It's nice here. The mistress, she treats me very well, and the master has treated me no worse than any other employer that I've had. I don't have anything to complain about.
We aim to keep it that way for as long as we can. I wonder, this garden, has any part of it been renovated and disturbed in any way recently? Has there been any attempt at creating flatter land or holes dug or any such?
You'd have to speak to the groundsman. He's not here today. He only comes in once a week at this time of year.
I wondered if you'd perhaps seen anything that looked unusual, but if you think, let me know.
Oh, certainly, sir. If I see or hear anything strange, I'll come straight to you immediately. If that is what the master wishes.
Yes, we are here to help with the situation, so any information will help.
Well, I probably should get this washing indoors.
One quick question before you go. As we were driving up, we noticed a gentleman in the garden with you. I would have thought he was the groundsman.
Oh, no. Mr. Hutchins. He's not in today. Not on a Wednesday, ma'am. Sir.
Okay. Must have just been my eyes.
Matthews.
Sorry, sir. What? You said there was a man in the garden?
Hurry along, dear. Go on. You have to get the washing in, yes?
Yes, sir. She smiles, a beaming smile, and rushes off with the basket.
GM, did we all see that? Because the player forgot.
You did.
Damn it. Damn it. Matthews, it's happening again.
Yeah. Would you like to roll stability for me, please, Bo?
Absolutely bloody well not.
Oh, you both passed.
Yay.
Clearly, maybe it was a villager or something, or somebody from the village that may have just wandered into the garden. And perhaps she's even forgot about it. She seems a bit ditzy.
Yeah, she might not want to tell us if she's had a friend over or something.
Yeah, well, there, a gentleman friend. Ooh.
But she's far too young,
Yeah.
even from my proclivities. Yes.
Yes. Is there anything that anybody wishes to do now for?
I would like a jolly good brisk walk around this garden grounds and look for any recently disturbed earth, dear sir.
Oh, okay. You can certainly do that. What about Luther? What's Luther been up to since finishing his little interview? Is there anything that he would like to do, or
Have a little bit of snoop on my way back to the parlour. Is there anything with a military connection? Any, I don't know, uniforms, paintings, military memorabilia?
maybe there's paintings, like one or two paintings. That
Nothing
you will
from-
have noticed.
like mementos that he's taken from his time in Africa.
No, strangely not. Nothing like that.
So I'll make my way back to the parlour. And there's nothing
Sure.
in the parlour either.
No, there's no sign of any military memorabilia there at all.
So I'll. What are they doing when I enter the parlour? Are they talking or?
Let's say that the major he's wandered off now. He's gone somewhere else in the house, perhaps, and Mrs. Walsh is sat there alone at that moment in time. Perhaps she's having more tea. She sees you as you enter. Ah, Mr. Henrys. Did you find out anything interesting from the cook?
She doesn't like my diet, apparently.
You have an unusual diet, sir?
Just vegetables. I don't eat meat.
Ah, yes, that's quite unusual.
I should be easy to cater for. Your husband.
Yes, sir.
Does he talk about what he did when he was on campaign?
Not a great deal. He was part of his regiment. Was part of the relief of the city of Kimberley. I know that it was quite traumatic, some of the things that they saw there. They'd been under siege for quite a long time, and a lot of the townsfolk had suffered quite badly with malnutrition. But he generally speaks with a certain amount of pride when he talks about relieving that city. But
So that was a British city.
the town was under siege from the Boers, yes. For many months, apparently.
And
Quite a terrible thing.
Did he have any experience in any experiences with the natives at all?
I believe that he did have some encounters with them. Of course, the natives were they were apparently assisting the Boers with supplies. The British too, of course. And some of their villages were... Well, they had to be destroyed because they needed to stop them from aiding the enemy. You understand?
I do. War is a terrible, terrible thing. I have family that fought in the Boer War.
I hope they're well.
Some of them are.
Yes, it was quite a terrible time, from what I hear. Some of the stories that Creighton has told me are... Well, perhaps I wouldn't like to have heard them.
About the... anything in particular about the natives, or are we talking actual his fighting experience?
No, he hasn't really mentioned the natives much, to be honest. I know that he had some encounters with them, as I say. It's to do with Lord Kitchener's policies, apparently. They were to burn down villages, and sometimes they fought back. I've not asked Creighton to go into the details. I don't wish to know them, honestly.
Maybe I should talk to him. Did he bring anything back from the war at all, apart from a ghost?
Do you say that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Or does he not? Doesn't he want reminding of the experiences? Maybe he wants to forget.
Well, he has... Since he's come back, he has bad dreams. I don't really like to talk about it, but sometimes I see him when he's almost delirious, and he doesn't appear to be the man that I married. That sounds terrible, I know. I shouldn't say such things. A proper lady wouldn't talk of such things. I think he experienced things there that he wouldn't tell me, but perhaps maybe he confides in his diary rather than I.
I'll talk to him. I need to talk to him.
Yes, he's quite embarrassed by the nightmares that he has. He has such terrible, terrible night terrors sometimes. That's why he didn't want you to stay here, I think. He's a proud man.
He wasn't physically injured, was he, at all?
No, he was...
I noticed he
yes.
He carries a stick.
Yes, he does. Unfortunately, it was in July. He was making preparations to return with the rest of his regiment. Silly man. He stepped out in front of a carriage. He was run down. He was quite badly hurt, and due to the injury, he was invalided out of the service. He's been offered a job at Whitehall. He takes that up in 5 days.
That might be good for him. It might occupy his mind.
Yes.
Something
It
to-
does mean he will spend more time in London than here, perhaps.
I'll. I should go and find my friends.
Yep. So she allows you to leave. You're in the garden. Maxton, are you? Did you come back into the house, or are you staying outside with Albert?
I probably were out there, so I would have stayed with Albert.
So Albert's walking the ground, so I guess you're walking with him, and you're looking for something.
Disturbed
What is it?
ground. That the length of a human body and the width of the shoulders.
So we're looking for a grave. Oh, how nice.
Yeah,
We can rule this one out without any hesitation, but we must search. You know what it's like. We have to discount evidence as well as find it. This will put our minds at rest and know that we don't have a young, what was her name, Elizabeth, buried somewhere out here who's risen and is causing ghastly noises at night.
Still wouldn't account for what Elizabeth heard if she's the one now doing that. So there's still something afoot, but I'm thinking there's something to do with the night terrors at this point. So much noise. Maybe the night terrors make the major walk while asleep.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, exactly. I agree. Perhaps we can find something. Anyway, let us look. Just keep your eyes open. Make sure the herbaceous borders are fully intact and blooming marvelous.
Yes, let's look at the ground of this beautiful garden to see what's been ruined.
and it is quite a well-kept garden. This Mr. Hutchins obviously knows his stuff. The grass is well manicured. The hedges also. Through the hedge on the west side of the property, you kind of make out the church just across the road. There's like a road that runs front of the house and round the side of it. Just over that road on the far side is all fields, but obscured by the bushes and the hedges. And the River Ouse is over there somewhere. And to the west, you can see the spire of the church peeping above the hedge. And it's a beautiful autumnal day. A lot of the leaves are turning. There are colours like your browns and yellows and reds all around the garden. A large oak tree whose leaves are all fiery red at this moment. Are we going to use an ability of some kind here if we're wanting to search, or
And I don't think I have an ability for
evidence collection.
evidence collection? I think that's probably a thing. Okay, so as you're kind of wandering around the grounds, beneath the oak tree that I just mentioned, you find a patch of disturbed earth, but it's not as big as a body. There's nowhere near as big as a body. But yeah, it looks like it's kind of been dug over recently.
Child's body.
It's not even that big. It's probably maybe a patch of earth the size of a house brick, maybe.
it's really small.
Yeah, very small.
I take out. I look around amongst the sticks that have blown off the tree, and I pick one up and I just prod the ground with it just to see.
So it's fairly hard, the earth there. It's obviously been dug over recently, but within the last few weeks, possibly. It's obviously rained on it since then, and the ground has hardened and dried.
Well, unless they buried a squirrel here, I suspect that there's one theory that we can adequately dispense with. Thank you for entertaining me, Matthews.
Can you both make sense trouble rolls for me?
We're gonna get murdered by a squirrel! And you...
Yeah, this is what you get for dissing the squirrels, dude.
It's an undead squirrel.
Hang on. I'm going to add I'm going to add 1 point to this.
Okay, you sure?
Oh, hang on. Do I do that?
Is it opened up behind again?
No, simple. Do I need to press the simple spend button?
It's the test, I think. You want to click.
No.
Okay. Albert's kind of prodding away at this patch of earth with a stick that he's gathered up from the ground there. And you look up, Maxton.
Yeah.
And on the kind of the first floor, you can see there's a window you're not sure, you haven't been upstairs, you don't know where it leads to, but there's quite a large window there. And you see a shape. It quickly resolves as you focus on it. The sunlight's kind of shining down onto the window, so it takes a moment. But there's definitely a person standing in the window, looking down at you. And perhaps for a moment you kind of think, somebody in the house is in the window. But then it kind of dawns on you that this person is wearing a hat.
Indoors.
And looks very similar to the figure you saw behind Maud when you first pulled up.
Oh.
I'm poking the ground and I say, what's up, Matthews?
I think I'm having a moment.
I look up and look around as well.
I'm the first floor window. Do you see
Yeah.
what I see?
And as you look up, you see this figure standing in the window then.
There's a man in the window up there. That's
Yes.
That's not the major, is it? Hey, you sir. You sir.
And this figure, it just seems to kind of step back away from the window until it's no longer in sight.
That looks like the same gentleman that we passed in the garden on the way here.
A hat indoors. What a bounder.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
So, was it, obviously we've been told about a shadow with a hat indoors. Did we see more actual features?
Yeah, no, what you saw, it was the figure you saw in the garden when you first pulled up was it was kind of like quite a stout fella, quite a broad man. He was wearing like work clothes and a kind of hat. It's not a top hat, but it's kind of still fairly tall. And he's quite a tall gentleman anyway. And the clothing is quite dark. And this is the figure that you can now see, or you saw as you were looking up into the window.
Okay.
And yeah, figure seems to have just disappeared. Yes, it's a bottom hat, not a top hat. Thanks, Bong.
Is it easy to discern what room that is?
Yes. Yeah, you're pretty sure you could. I mean, you have architecture, I believe, as an ability, which means that you could find that very easily. I think it has it.
Yeah.
If not, yeah.
So I have an array of knowledge.
Damn right.
So once he's out of view, I will turn to Albert. Say, shall we go and talk to our mystery fellow?
I say lead on.
So you run into the house, or are you casually walking? I don't know. I was jumping to conclusions there, wasn't I?
Brisk step.
A brisk pace. You step into the house, and you make your way upstairs. And as you kind of
Can we
get to
collect
the top of the
Henry's
stairs-
as we go?
Oh yeah, as Henry's is on his way out. Yeah, so Henry's, you arrive at the back door that you know these people went out into the back garden, just as they're coming in, and they seem quite excited about something. And they're heading upstairs, or they seem to be.
Yes.
I will follow.
As we're walking along, I will say, Henry's, I think you're going to enjoy this one. This is right up your streets.
Why is it your street?
Explain to me what's happening. We have seen a gentleman indoors with a hat on.
Hat.
Very-
It's not a pith hat, is it?
It's not.
No.
It's not.
I have no idea what that means.
Me neither.
A pith hat is one of those kind of safari hat type things that you see in all the old movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not one of those. Yeah, you see them in Carry On films a lot, maybe.
Or the hat they had in Zulu.
Or the hat that ends Zoo. Wow. I love that film. Yeah, so
Never seen it. Oh my god.
anyway,
Princes are lost on me.
you run upstairs, or you briskly walk up the stairs, and the door you arrive at appears to be a bedroom. And are you making a noise, perhaps, as you're going up there? Would you attract attention, do you think?
Well, not. I wouldn't say actively being quiet. It's just general, brisk pace up there. Not forcefully making any noise, but not making sure we're being quiet, kind of thing.
Okay.
I think it's just
Okay.
how you would averagely wander around a house.
Yeah, so you arrive at a door which is clearly a bedroom, and as you kind of push the door open, you instantly realise that this is the master bedroom. This is the Major and Mrs. Walsh's bedroom. It's quite large, well appointed, the obligatory four-poster bed, very well furnished and decorated. But the window here is not the window that you saw the figure at. The figure would have been in a room adjoining this one, and you can see a door at the far end of the room that would lead to the room where the window was. And as you approach that door, it's locked.
Yes. I presume this is the child that wasn't.
So it's the
The
child.
what?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I found out a little bit of information. Maybe I should tell you both. So I was talking to Nasta, and apparently before the Major went off to war, they did... well, they didn't have a child. It was... I forgot the terminology.
Miscarriage.
A miscarriage. They had a miscarriage. So I'm presuming that might be the bedroom, because they said they prepared the bedroom for the child. but it was miscarriage. So, and Nesta says they just left the room. They prepared it as a nursery, and it's just never been used. And amongst some other interesting information, I was talking to the Major's wife, and I think the Major has done something bad whilst he was fighting the Boers, and something's followed him back from Africa. It might be to do with destroying villages belonging to some of the natives, and some of the natives put up a fight, and I think they might have massacred the natives. And Nesta says she's seen a woman, I think she said with a child or a baby, but she's also
expecting.
Another time she saw, I think she said dark or a black gentleman. So I'm thinking that this spirit's followed him back from Africa. Maybe it's a curse. And one other snippet of information, he is actually injured. That's why he's got the walking stick. But he was getting ready to come back to England, and he said he was run over by a wagon. Now I'm thinking, I wonder if he was suicidal and he actually jumped in front of the wagon because of what he's done in Africa.
That's a thought.
That could be a jump, but it seems odd.
And on that bombshell, I think we should probably leave it for this evening, and we'll continue this next week.